Welcome, everyone. As we begin to trickle in, I'll go ahead and get things started. Welcome to the North Carolina Council on Developmental Disabilities Self-Advocate Discussion Series. I am Chris Hendricks. I am a Caucasian male with brown hair and blue eyes. I've grown a small beard in honor of the fall. I am wearing a pink-ish button shirt. I'm the Policy Education Coordinator for the Council. On behalf of the Council, thank you for being here, everyone. This discussion series is a place for North Carolina's self-advocates to gather and engage with each other, to talk about things that affect our lives as people experiencing life with intellectual and developmental disabilities and other disabilities. We want this time together used to get to know each other and to get to know the council, where I and other individuals with IDD are leaders, colleagues, and most importantly, we're valued for our input because we are who we are. People with disabilities should always be valued like that, and this discussion series will demonstrate why and how. Now on to today's topic. Over a year ago, we talked about the unmet needs and direct support professional crisis through the lens of the North Carolina Council on Developmental Disabilities film, Unmet. This month, we thought it was about time for an update on the topic. Today's topic will focus on where we are now and where we still need to go as a community. In order to do this topic justice, we thought it best to bring back a fabulous guest facilitator and presenter, Pam Hunter Dempsey, and have for the first time, direct support professional Letitia Stuckey. But before we get into today's topic, let's ease into the discussion with a laugh, as we often do, with our joke of the day. I apologize, y'all. We typically have a joke of the day slide. It's missing today, but I'll do my best to joyously read. And Philip Woodward, as always, you're the dad joke expert, so feel free to jump on in. I only seem to get sick on weekdays. I must have a weakened immune system. But and our next joke, which days of the week are the strongest? Any guesses?
Sunday, because my son is the strongest person in the family. And this is Philip here saying that.
Philip, that's a fantastic guess. You're half correct. Saturday and Sunday, of course, are the strongest days because the rest are weekdays. We got to get things started with a little bit of cheese. Okay. Now that we've had a good chuckle, it is an absolute honor for me to introduce our special guest facilitator for today's topic, Pam Hunter Dempsey, North Carolina Council on Developmental Disabilities Systems Change Manager. Pam is a proud parent of 3 adult daughters, each amazing in their own way, and NAMI, or grandmother name, to 4 precious littles. Having worked in nonprofit entities, government agencies, and education, both at the high school and college level, Pam has over 25 years experience working in disability advocacy. Pam has always been a keeper of stories in our community. And as a reminder, Pam was truly the spark that grew into our collective film project, Unmet, that many of you are familiar with today. Let's give a warm advocacy welcome to our special guest facilitator, Pam Hunter Dempsey. Welcome, Pam.
Hi, Chris, and hi, everybody. Thanks so much. Of all of that, I'm super proud of the NAMI role that I play in this space, and happy to be here with you guys today talking about one of the passion projects of which I'm just most grateful to have been a part. I will in just a moment ask for permission to share my screen, if that's okay, to those running the technology here. So give just a moment to hopefully be granted that. Yeah, I was so pleased to have been, as you say, Chris, a little over a year ago, invited to this space to share our film. And forgive me, I've been remiss. We are working as a staff, and Chris, you set an excellent example. We're working as a staff to incorporate accessibility in all the ways that we know. And as we learn better, we do better. So I'll pause and offer a visual description. My name is Pam. I'm a white or a Caucasian woman. I'm learning to embrace saying that I have gray, shoulder-length hair. Today I'm wearing gold rimmed glasses with tiny specks of blue that I think are super fun, and a navy blue dress with a green and blue tie-dyed scarf, because sometimes it gets a little bit chilly in the office here. So pardon me for being a little bit late to the punch on that. But now I'll share screen and offer a little bit of update on the work of our Unmet Film Initiative. There we go. And I hope you're seeing it in the correct presentation. I'll look for a thumbs up or an audible thumbs up from somebody.
Thumbs up, Pam, thumbs up.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So this was not an opportunity for the council just to have a grand old time creating a film and traversing the state and scheduling online film showings just for the fun of it. This was an opportunity really to engage in deep advocacy. Part of advocating is sharing of oneself, sharing one's story, so that community members and decision makers alike know the needs that one has. So with this film, a handful of people, 7 or 8 people, were that met our photojournalist and shared their story. Our photojournalist, Robin Rain, compiled those stories into a brief documentary film. And as council staff, we have shared the film in ways to further education and advocacy, which is the mission of the North Carolina Council on Developmental Disabilities. Throughout the state, over 700 people have seen the documentary film. It's been met with a number of kind responses, but also with a number of people saying that they have indeed learned something. So that goal has pleased us greatly. Here we are, a group of us gathered in Charlotte from back in March, when our Spanish voiceover of the film was shown to this lovely group in March. So if you are a part of that, glad to have you here as well. So again, the film is only as effective as the advocacy that we paired with it. The advocacy work that has joined the film has been ongoing and will continue. Here you see former council member Cheryl Powell in the center. Cheryl is a Caucasian woman dressed in black with her hair in a very cute high pony and sitting in a wheelchair. To the left of the photo is our executive director, Tally Wells, a Caucasian man with short brown hair, navy suit, white shirt, and a blue tie is behind Cheryl. And to the right is Senator Lee. Senator Lee is a champion in our IDD community, and they had been trying to meet unsuccessfully for quite a while. But when Cheryl joined the IDD caucus, visiting the legislature, she was able to finally meet her legislator in person. So this was an exciting moment for each of them. Many of you perhaps were involved in the IDD caucus visit. Let's talk about what that means. A caucus is just a fancy government word sometimes used for a group of legislators. They work together on a common goal. So the IDD caucus is a group of about 10 to 15 at this moment. It's not a number that is limited or set in stone, but about 10 to 15 elected officials, both senators and representatives, Republicans and Democrats, who are all compelled to work together in support of laws and other means that support the community of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So this was a super important day. Our community has met with this IDD caucus on other occasions as well, and may indeed visit again in the spring. So look for word of that to be forthcoming. So the film was about initially the waiting list in North Carolina. We call that the Registry of Unmet Needs. It's a statement that recognizes that people with IDD have needs, and that in fact those needs go unmet because there is not funding to support them in having their needs met. So waiting list is an interesting term without a lot of emotion. When we look at it called the Registry of Unmet Needs, a lot of folks in our IDD community have a little more emotion around that title. At the start of the film project, the waiting list, the Registry of Unmet Needs, was around 15,300 people. Okay, these are people, for the most part, who have already been deemed eligible. Not always, but mostly they've been deemed eligible, and their names are placed on a waiting list. Today, and you see next on my screen, orange text. This is a hyperlink, and Chris, I'll send this to you. But this hyperlink will take you to the real-time dashboard that has been developed by our Department of Health and Human Services in the state that indicates that today there are 17,902 people on this waiting list, this Registry of Unmet Needs. What's that you say, Chris? Why has the list increased 2,602 people? That's an excellent question. Here's what we think. I have not yet seen data on the answer to Chris's excellent question that he really did not voice aloud. I'm just teasing with him, but we're all thinking it, right? I've not seen the data, but here's what I tend to think. We have a multi-year initiative, Meet the Need NC. There are advocacy groups across the state. I don't want to start calling because I know I'll leave some people out, but I could offer you the ARC of North Carolina, Family First, and many, many others, Autism Society. And if you want, start putting some of those other groups that you know are working on the waiting list issue. You can put some of those in the chat. We would love to hear from you. There are many who are working on this. And as we provide the education about what is Innovations Waiver, how do you apply for Innovations Waiver funding, how do you have your name added to this Registry of Unmet Needs or waiting list, we believe that that education has led more people to seek out services and to apply to have their name added to the list. That's not proved in data. So there are needs for us to perhaps understand that a little bit better. But that's a significant increase, wouldn't you say? And it's been less than 2 years. If you're interested in following along there, again, you'll receive this presentation I might have a little cleaning up to do, but you'll receive this presentation and you can follow that hyperlink. Okay, next, if you joined us a year ago and saw the film, you remember that there was a lot of discussion around direct support professionals. Let's make sure we all understand that. So I'll give a little bit of background. A direct support professional is a person who is paid through the employer to provide the supports and services that a person with IDD might need. For some, that might look like driving to the grocery store and providing support with selecting and paying for groceries. For others, that might look like support at work. You may remember Dave, who is a friend of ours, who had been a direct support professional with our current council chair, Brian Dooley. Dave's job was a direct support professional. That was Dave's job. Okay. So at the start of the Unmet Film Project, we had learned that many direct support professionals were earning hourly rates as low as $10, some even $8. I didn't list $8 because I couldn't find a citation, couldn't find data to show that. So I'm sharing with you 10, but it at points was lower than that. Why is that a concern? Well, that's not enough earnings for somebody reasonably to be expected to stay in that job of direct support professional long term. Dave supported Brian for over 6 years. That continuity in their relationship was very supportive for them both. However, Dave, as an adult male with responsibilities and bills, after the film wrapped, Dave did have to seek another job, and he was one in one of his roles that was making a very low hourly wage, even at wage, where did that come from? Wage, even after several years, more than 6 years in the job, there had been no increase. Staff turnover can be a really big problem for people with IDD. So increasing the pay rate for direct support professionals will help the DSP to be able to stay in their jobs longer and to continue to provide excellent support services. So there's the background. Yikes. Oh, okay, good. I'll take out that blank slide so you don't have to worry with that. Where are we now? Well, currently, we at the council understand that many direct support professionals are earning hourly rates of $18 an hour. Some we hear might receive even more than that. This is advocacy work that's ongoing because we believe that even greater hourly wages would be very supportive. Many direct support professionals do not receive mileage reimbursement. So providing the support to take a person to the grocery store, to a medical visit, or other transportation may not be reimbursable. So then that's cutting into their take-home pay. And as I mentioned with regard to Dave, we would like to see that there could be built in an increase in the pay over time. There are many, many, many individuals and groups that are advocating for professional credentialing. That's like a certification or a recognition of some training or education that the professional has completed. There also are advocates in support of career advancement or other elements for direct support professionals. So a number of people and groups working in this area. Many of us have either older parents or grandparents, or we know senior adults who also themselves benefit from having someone in a paid role to provide support. So there's what we call intersection, right? Where our support needs as an IDD community are the same as, or they cross over the needs of the senior adult community. And so working collaboratively or working together with those groups is super important. So there's an update from that conversation that took place in the film also.
Pam, if I can interrupt really quickly, would you mind lowering your camera just a little bit because your name tag is covering up your face? That's better. Thank you.
Oopsie. Sorry about that. Was I like, okay, I'm dating myself. There used to be a television show with Tim the Toolman Taylor, and he talked to his next door neighbor, whom he only saw over the fence. So he only ever saw his neighbor's eyes. And I apologize for that. But thank you, Melissa. So folks, that's all I have. Melissa and Chris, I don't know if you all are interested in question time now. I sadly will need to leave you in about 20 minutes. But we can also wait until after Letitia, if you'd prefer to have all questions at the same time.
This is Chris. First of all, thank you so much, Pam, for all that wonderful information. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I, for one, just in case, since you have to step away, and I think it's also in the script as well. Does anyone have any questions for Pam that they'd like to ask? Feel free to raise your Zoom hand or your actual hand if you feel the need, or you can unmute and jump in and share. If for whatever reason you don't want to ask the question directly, you can share your question in chat and we'll try to follow along. But anyone who has any questions for Pam? She's here for you.
I think I do.
Oh, is that Todd?
I'm Roxana.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was like, you don't look like a Todd.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
What do you suggest for parents who live in an area that have to travel great distances one way just to take my son somewhere? Could be up to 200 miles a day. So what do you suggest for me? How can I fight for help, figure out why he has to ride in a car that long, and also why parents are not available or not able to understand or be told the system. What is the system? I know we're a number, but they say it's now a formula. So why do we not know the difference? Does that make sense?
Those questions both make very much sense and are completely valid, Roxana. Thank you. So gracious, 200 miles a day for travel is quite a lot of time, of money in gas, of patience, of all the things. And before moving to North Carolina, my daughter and I lived in a fairly, I wouldn't say rural, but it was a less populated area to be sure. And we would travel 90 miles one way for provider services. My first recommendation would be to talk to the LME-MCO and see if there's a way to bring in new providers. I don't believe that it's always a solution, but more and more providers are offering telehealth services that can be very challenging for some folks with complex support needs or with multiply marginalizing identities. But I would also offer, we can certainly connect offline and see if we can put better heads than mine together to your question. Maybe others on the call would like to speak to that. Your second question about a formula, I'm not sure about that. So it's not a clear, like we talk about it like it's almost like Santa's list, you know, Santa's good girl and boy list. It's not like that. The waiting list exists within each of the LME MCOs. And those are the groups that receive the Medicaid funding and then send that out in the form of payments to providers who are doing the actual work of providing services. So within each LME MCO, there are waiting lists, and beyond that, it is quite a mystery. That same initiative that I referred to, known as
Yep.
Meet the Need NC, is developing some requests for like what would help us as people with IDD, as family members, loved ones who support people needing these services. A little more transparency. Help us understand this. But it is possible for you to call the LME MCO and ask where you stand on that waiting list.
Have,
You have, okay,
yeah. And I was told last year what number we were,
okay.
but I understand that I wasn't supposed to be told that.
I don't know any reason. I don't know of any reason why you wouldn't be able to know that. So,
That was told to me by the department, so
oh,
when I filed a grievance, yeah.
I see.
Pam, along with the people who have their hands up, there are a couple of responses and
Excellent.
items in
Good.
the chat.
Roxana, are you able to access the chat?
Yep,
And
I'm
note
looking at it.
also that in follow-up, Chris always sends out some really robust information. Thank you for that direction, Melissa. So so you're able to check the chat for some additional responses?
Yes,
Excellent.
ma'am.
Okay, all right. Okay, to take the next question then?
Yep. Just a quick update. We've got about 3 to 4 minutes for more minutes for questions. I think Mamie, forgive me if I'm saying that incorrectly. Mamie Hutnick?
That's Mamie Hutnick, yes.
Mamie.
Yes, as far as the waiting list, the only thing that, as many times as I've called, the dashboard's okay, but it really doesn't give you what you need. As you said, transparency. There is none. You don't know where you stand. They tell you it's the date that you actually put your loved one on is the date that they look at. But then there's so many different things that come into it. If the person is a veteran, if the person has some sort of it's just so, but it's not clear. And that's where I get really upset, is to know where I'm at. That's all I wanted to know, and you can't get that. It's really hard. And as far as Samantha R., I thought that was going to be an answer, but that doesn't seem to be working out that I can see. They did come up with 1950I, which is great, giving people some additional services that they can get. But ultimately, what about the wait list? Ultimately, that's what the person is waiting for. So I'm really unhappy with all of this. Still fighting to try to get transparency. I would think it'd be better if the LME MCOs didn't have the list, and they in turn, I would rather it be statewide and at least get more answers that way than what we have now. So that's all I've got to say.
Mamie, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we want to make sure that we note those data points that would be supportive and let the department know that. So please feel free, Chris, I'm completely volunteering you. Please feel free to email Chris, or if you can find my email, send us that information and we'll pass it along. Thank you.
Same is true for me. Feel free to volunteer me anytime, Pam.
Cool.
And
Cool.
last question, Miriam?
Miriam.
Miriam.
Hi, everyone. My name is Miriam. I'm a mother of a young man. He's 21, and indeed, it took us 10 years to get the services. Now that we have the services, it's not enough. As a single mom and caring for 82 old mother like that, she's have all her issues with the health issues, and Zach that has epileptic disorder, has all kind of thing. So we get like what we call like a CLS, a community living service or something like that. But it's not enough because the hours, he's still in school. This is his last year. But however, it's so once you wait all these years, and then once you get like those kind of service, it's not enough, because I try to manage the hours where he has a caregiver, and then when I come home like maybe like 10 o'clock or something, he still have, without my mom, I don't know what would I do with those gap when he comes from with his caregiver, maybe like bring him home or something like that. And I've been fighting to get like a little bit more hours, but it's so hard. I don't know, like what's the cap actually? If they said that there's like maybe like a 54 hours a week, and my son, like it's so hard. Even if you wait those many years and still like you don't have, it's like Chinese, like you don't understand all of it. It's so hard. So like I was just kind of maybe like all of people that are waiting, I'm wishing them the best of the luck too, but still like we have to have, once we wait so many years. So I think that we have to have like enough to consider every family's situation, because I'm a single mom. I've been single like forever. So like just to consider the, like even the amount of services that we can have. And I think that it's not enough for someone that's like I said, like my case, my personal case, that I'm a single mom and I have
Yeah.
to care for
Yeah.
2 people. So
Right.
Yeah.
I am in similar situations all around, Miriam. So yeah,
Yeah.
solidarity.
Mhm.
But let's keep sharing our stories so that those who make decisions know what's important to our loved ones. With
Sure.
that, folks, thank you so much. And as they say at the State House, I have no time to yield, but I look forward, Letitia, to hearing from you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Pam, and thank you everyone for your questions and your sharing. As Pam alluded to, I would next like to introduce you to Letitia Stuckey. Letitia is the daughter of a biological mother with an intellectual disability. She holds a passion for helping hurting people to heal as a direct result of her lived experience. Her professional background is rooted in mental health, domestic violence, and substance abuse. She's the mother of 2 sons with both mental health and developmental abilities. Letitia has co-presented at the International Early Childhood Inclusion Institute 2024. She co-keynoted for the Minnesota Division of Early Childhood Conference 2023 and participated in the Division of Early Childhood Conference in 2022 via pre-recorded video clips supplied by the Frank Porter Graham Child Development Institute. She's currently a direct support professional for her 31-year-old male relative with IDD. Additionally, Letitia is a recent graduate of ALP NC Cohort 2. She happens to be benefiting from the recent rate increase that Pam spoke about earlier. And while we know there's more work to be done, Letitia is here to offer us some insights in the current situation based on her firsthand experience. Letitia, clearly you have lots of experience, and thank you for being here with us today. We're looking forward to hearing from you.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Well, we'll get right into it. Can you share with us different ways, Pam alluded to some of this and shared some of this, but if you could describe different ways that DSPs provide support for the people that they serve.
Yes. So we provide a lot of support. Some of them include, but are not limited to, sorry, can you hear me? Personal hygiene, safety, ensuring that the individuals that we serve are safe. We report changes during the session, like if there is a change in their demeanor, if they get upset, or if they become sad, or there's anything emotionally happening for them. We help with laundry and cooking, helping to assist them to clean up after themselves, or verbally prompting, which just means speaking and asking them to clean up after themselves. I perform a lot of preference assessment with my client, because he's what they term nonverbal. So I want to know as much about him as possible. So with a preference assessment, what you pretty much do is you ask them, do they want one or two things? And you ask them maybe 3 times to see which one they favor. So that's what we do, a lot of that, as well as helping to get to and from appointments and transporting them to and from appointments, to run errands if they're in need of something from the store, as well as assisting with toileting. And for us, it's just asking him, does he have to use the restroom? He pretty much goes and does everything himself. And hand cleansing, so having hand sanitizer handy and just verbally prompting him once again to sanitize your hands. Like if we're about to go in the store, we sanitize before and after, because we usually have the buggy or the cart, so we want to make sure that our hands are clean. As well as with the recent COVID epidemic or what have you, we have a goal for social distancing, to ensure that we're not too close to anyone, as well as teaching him how to wear a mask and getting him comfortable with that feeling and that sensation, as well as just documenting really accurately everything that we do. So with personal hygiene specifically, it varies with the individual that you're working with. So things that I do for him is like clip his nails, and directing him to brush his teeth. And sometimes I'll like do it with him, so to show him what to do or what have you, and he kind of follows. So I'm modeling for him what to do, brushing his hair and wiping his face if we've eaten or he has something on his face, cleaning off his clothes. Every Thursday we go to Sam's. He likes a red slushie, and we get a pretzel, and it's got salt and it's got cinnamon on it. So sometimes if we're driving, when he gets out the car, the little particles are all over him. So just directing him to clean off his clothes and things of that nature. As it pertains to safety, like looking both ways before you cross the street, and monitoring to make sure that he's staying close to me so that I can see what's happening, who's around, and things of that nature. As well as we have a new goal, which is an evacuation plan. So we rehearse how he can get out of the house through the back, because his bedroom is located in the back of the house. So if there's something obstructing the front door, if there's a fire in the kitchen or something like that, then how can you get out? What's your alternative route? So we go over that twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, just so he has that in his mind that I have an alternate route to get out of the house. So those are pretty much some of the things that we work on.
So it sounds like you do quite a lot. I'm sure that that's just the tip of the iceberg. So, and a lot of us on this call know how hard y'all work, and the kind of relationships you develop, that you get to develop. But one of the other things that Pam mentioned is this interest in extended training and accreditation and things of that nature. You can speak to that if you like, but I'm just curious as to what kind of training is available today, what's required, and what we can look to in the future.
Yes. So the training that I underwent in order to become a direct support worker was, of course, first aid and CPR. We also did NCI, which is North Carolina Intervention, and that's mostly least restrictive, pretty much trying to prompt them and verbalize different actions for them to take if they're upset, like maybe calm down, maybe listen to some instrumental music or things of that nature, so that you don't have to physically restrain anybody or what have you. So some other things that I had the privilege to go through was, as you read in the bio, the ALP, ALP-NC leadership, and it focused on leadership as well as advocacy, and specifically, as everyone on the call has been doing, telling your story so that people know the different dynamics and can look at each family dynamics from a holistic point of view, whether it be transportation, whether it be additional medical needs or mental health needs, or whether it be, you know, housing or what have you, just things that are needed and necessary, and how to tell that in an effective way to those stakeholders that will listen, those that are in control of making policies and changing those policies or making amendments. And the last one is a part of the ECHO pilot program. So basically, it's a pilot program to get feedback from individuals that work in the field, from individuals that have family and loved ones, or even the faith-based community. It's pretty much getting everyone's intake on how do we address this issue, what helps, what's working, what's not working, and things of that nature. Because it's being a direct support professional is like an unrecognized career. So the more training, the better, and the better quality of service we can provide if we're provided with the tools and the training to be able to address things as they come up with our clients.
Absolutely. Hopefully with some collective hard work, that recognition will come in time, sooner than later. We certainly hope for that. So how can we support our DSPs and those on the registry that are still waiting for services?
And pretty much like everyone already has said, ask what are their immediate and pressing needs, because that varies from one family to another. Individuals' family dynamics are all different, and we have to address the needs based upon what they are. But a lot of times, sometimes when individuals make decisions for other people, they may not take into account, like they say, they might be caring for two different people. They may have medical versus mental health versus developmental issues. So taking all of those into account. So the best way to know is to ask, what is it that you need? How can we help you to provide that, or what have you? And like I said, holistic assessment of the needs, because a lot of the needs are layered. So if someone is nonverbal, then there may be a safety issue, or there may be an issue with them cooking, or with, you know, them performing their daily living needs. So we need to see what those are in order to appropriately address them. I think it's important also to train family, community members, friends, the faith-based community, and all of those, because being a direct support worker is a paid service. So you have to get an authorization from the state of North Carolina, or whatever state you're working with, to even access or work with that individual. This prayerfully will never happen, but what happens if that is taken away? Are the family equipped? Are they like in a faith-based community, church members, things of that nature, to be able to provide respite, to be able to help and assist these family members if all of the professionals go away? Personally, what does your support system look like? And ways they could do that is they could maybe offer pay for trainings, offer vouchers or other incentives to want people to compensate people for their time and their effort, but to also, you know, people will want to get more involved or what have you, because they'll see it as beneficial to them overall. You can also provide quality, dependable, affordable childcare, which is respite, depending on what your child's age is. And I think we have to consider that age, developmental age and chronological age varies. So you could have a 31-year-old, but he's testing at maybe 2 years old. So having dependable, affordable childcare, people that are trained to care for them in your absence, because as caregivers, like as you wrote in the bio, I'm a single mom with 2 sons. They both have individual and special needs. At some point, you need a break, you know, if and when at all possible. So that's definitely a piece that goes to self-care, that goes to respite, that goes to taking a breather and things of being able to reset and all of that. So that's important as well. And lastly, collaborating with established businesses for donations, to be able to discount food if that's a part of the holistic, you know, assessment, if that's a need, an immediate need to the family, providing clothing and shoes, because I don't know about everybody else on the call, but I have a 10-year-old son that's almost as tall as me, and he's very big. Like his feet are big, his clothes are big. They grow out of things, and financially, you know, if you're only receiving SSI, that's not the highest income bracket. So it would be helpful to be able to have clothes and shoes, as well as school supplies when our children or the individuals that we serve go to school, medical supplies, depending on their individual case, as well as mental health services, because sometimes, like when talking about that layer, sometimes there's a mental health element as well as a developmental intellectual layer to it as well. So we need to address all of those things. So my vote is a holistic approach to this.
Well, can I just say, Cece, this is Chris, your passion and your knowledge are awesome. If I had my way, I would just give you a golden microphone and you could just go all around the state and talk how you're talking today, because I think it's making quite an impact. And I know how complicated, we know how complicated the issue, the DSP, the issues that DSPs face on a day-to-day basis have lots of layers and are complicated. But we know that it's a challenge that we can face. Of everything that you've shared up to this point, what do you think is the most important thing you want our audience to leave with today?
I think the takeaway would be that no man, woman, boy, or girl is an island. We need each other. We need community. It takes a village to care for and support others. And it's important to know and to note that we are stronger together than apart. And the question remains, who takes care of the caregiver? So as I was saying, going back to that self-care piece, that is so important, because if you're unable to take care of yourself, or if you're not doing well, then it's gonna also spill over into your ability to care for others. So as direct support professionals, our duties aren't easy, but as you said, Chris, it's definitely doable and it's rewarding if and when we stick with it. When you see somebody that you come into their life and they're functioning at one level, and then they're able to get something, they're able to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, maybe with some prompts or what have you, then that's growth. And we all develop differently and at different rates and speeds. So it's important to keep that in mind. And lastly, those who support need support. So going back to that self-care piece, because I myself have had to drink from that cup. You have to have some respite. You have to take some time for yourself to reset. So it's easier to do that when we're in a village or a community and we have a support system that can support us when needed and necessary.
Letitia, I don't know. I hope you noticed all the nodding that was going on the whole time that you were talking for the last 15 to 20 minutes. You got a real what you shared really resonates with us here today. And I want to take a moment. First of all, thank you again for being here. Secondly, if you are on the call right now and you have been or you are currently a direct support professional, can you please either raise your hand or put up your Zoom hand? And in order to put up the Zoom hand, you click on the More button, and there's a React button. And if you click on the React, there's an option to raise your Zoom hand. We just want to see and acknowledge you for being here today.
Laura's way.
Excellent. Thank you all for being here today. And now, whether you are a self-advocate or an advocate, it's your time to jump in and speak up. Whether you have questions for Letitia or Pam, even if Pam is not here, you can forward said questions to myself or Melissa or anyone with experience on this call. That's why we call it a discussion series. The 4 questions that we have for you as prompts today are the following. What are some creative solutions you have to these crises? Trust me, we know it's complicated, but we know you've got your thoughts. Question number 2, what are some positives and negatives, if any, of natural supports? Question number 3, do you have a personal story to share around the RUN or DSP crisis? Some of you have already shared your personal stories today with us. Those personal stories are really what's going to make an impact on decision makers. And then number 4, share one important takeaway from our presenters that was really important to you. It's one thing for us to be here today and discuss these issues. It's another thing to be able to take what was shared today and take it out into the world, into the community, and use it to make an impact. We've got, I would say, 5 to 7 minutes for some shares and some responses. We'll start with Holly.
Holly Watt, if you're speaking to us, you're on mute, but your hand is up.
I think it was very appropriate to talk about parents who need respite. So I think that was a great takeaway. My daughter's turning 44. I'm her DSP. She's my client, and been asking for just 2 hours a week for respite since 2018. So it's really important that you have your support of family, etc., to step in and give you that time. Thanks.
Well said. Well said. Frank?
Yes, my name's Frank Messina. I have a son who's 41 years old. He has autism and cerebral palsy. He is in an ICF home right now, but because of his behaviors, he's been asked to leave, and we're looking on trying to find him either another home or getting him back home with us, my wife and I. But the problem is there's not enough services out there for us to bring him home. And, you know, between having respite and having somebody come in as to help him around, getting washed, getting clean, helping them put together breakfast, taking them out into the community, those services aren't there. And little by little, the state seems not to have any answers for this. You know, there's been a ton of money last year that went into the state for social services, for IDD, for mental health, substance abuse, and where's this money going? Where is it being sent? It's certainly not being sent to Carteret County. You know, what is I'm an older parent. I'm looking at my son's future. A couple of things that people said today about having a support group around you, like family and other things, those are all important. But when your child or your loved one needs more than just having somebody around them, they need more skills, like having speech therapy if they can't speak, occupational therapy, vocational training, physical therapy. These things do not exist around here. I know one mom was saying they traveled 90 miles one way to take her son somewhere. That's ridiculous in this time and day and age. And with my son, you can't use the telehealth, because he won't even understand what you're telling him. So it's a sad thing. I think there should be more accountability, not only with DHSS, but also with the state legislators and Senate, to be accountable to where this money's being spent and have a better eye on what's going on. That's my little rant. Thank you very much.
This is Chris. Frank, let me just say that we really hear the need in your voice, in your rant. We hear you. And I can't speak for everyone, of course, with an intellectual and developmental disability. I happen to be a self-advocate diagnosed with cerebral palsy at the age of 4. So I feel you for that share. Thank you very much. Phyllis.
There we go. Hey, needed to get off being quiet on camera, etc. So my son Jack is 27. He has Down syndrome. So we're further in the process of, we've had a cap slot Innovations Waiver for probably 15 years now. So one of the things, just to let other parents know, your budget can change year over year as your child needs more services. If once you have that slot, we've got a wonderful case manager at Partners that has helped us navigate, what we need to do as Jack gets older and how to make sure that we have all the right resources and everything. So part of it is having a really good case manager. My husband and I are DSPs, but we also, Jack goes to an adult day program. So fortunately, because I'm in a larger county, I've got access to a lot more services. So there are actually 4 adult day programs in Forsyth County. Only one that I would recommend, but we have that option. And then between him having a great worker that works with him after the program, and then my husband and I and my son filling in, we've been able to get it to manage to work. As far as respite, yes, it's definitely needed. Trying to find somebody that you feel comfortable leaving your child with, I don't care how old they are, it's very difficult. It's very hard. I mean, sometimes you just hope that, just don't kill them, just keep them clean, keep them fed. It's sad when your expectations can be that low. But sometimes if you need a break, you do have to lower your expectations. So one of the things I would tell every parent that's fighting for everything is do not give up. We were shocked when we got a slot, and it was mainly because our son continued to like slide down, like for his age, he fell so far behind that's what moved him up in the slot. So even though, I know people are saying where you are on the waiting list, the thing is it can change, because if other people apply and that person is in worse shape or their score is higher or lower, however it works, that's when you can move on the scale. So just sharing a lot of what I found out. I feel like I can't tell you how fortunate we are that we have the Innovations Waiver slot. So don't give up and just keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Be an advocate. I advocate until I'm like dead some days, but is how my son has gotten what he has gotten. And it's really sad that, he's 27, he's nonverbal, he needs pretty much constant help. And maybe if he'd gotten help sooner, he wouldn't have been as delayed as he is. Doing the best I can.
Thank you, Phyllis. Thank you so much for that honest and open and vulnerable perspective in that.
Chris, this is Melissa, and I'm really sorry to have to interrupt, but Miriam, if you make a comment, it needs to be very brief, and Chris, we need you to start wrapping up.
Understood. That's where I was going.
The only thing I really like, and I would love to have more, if Miss Letitia can put her information, like as far as, and I really like, you're right, because we need more training for even our caregivers and for ourselves as parents, or as all caregivers needs like constant training ourselves too. And we appreciate what you do, Miss Letitia.
Thank you for that, Miriam, and we absolutely do.
Thank you.
So grateful to have y'all. I always hate rushing through these. I wish we had more time. It's clear that this is an issue that deserves more time, and I want to thank everyone for being here today. Really quickly, a couple of resources. The National Association of Direct Support Professionals website for you, and for anyone who's interested in the Direct Support Professional Plan, the Department of Health and Human Services, if you want to look more in depth on that. And for those that are not as familiar with the registry, or for DSPs, I came across a webinar on YouTube that came out about 9 months ago that really goes in depth, and it's about an hour and a half for those who are interested and want to get some more knowledge and resources. These are not the only resources. Okay, so there's going to be a lot more. I just want to let you know those are 3 of several, and if anyone has any resources they'd like to share, feel free to put them in the chat. Some opportunities. Next self-advocate discussion series is October 16th. We'll be talking about National Disability Employment Awareness Month and focusing on income earning opportunities for persons with disabilities. Wednesday, October 9th at 1:15 p.m., the Community Talk Series led by UNC's Center for Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities, designing accessible visualization for people with IDD. Definitely register in advance. Click on that link. I'll be sending that out along with the other resources in a resources email shortly after the end of our session today. It is now 2 o'clock. I want to take a moment to thank our speakers, our special guest facilitator, Pam Hunter-Dempsey, our speaker, Letitia Stuckey, were so informative. Thank you so much to our Spanish interpreters and our ASL interpreters. Thank you so much to all staff, and especially for all of you advocates that are attended today. At one point, we had 68 people attending. We can't do this without you, and it's clear we need to keep doing things like this. Thank you on behalf of the North Carolina Council. We appreciate you.